As new and returning governors are inducted, Vice President Osinbajo points their attention to development through internally generated revenue.
Nigerian Air Force celebrates 55 years of its existence.
Human Rights Report on fighting insurgency blames violations on state actors.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, our focus is on Nigeria's border security challenges.
Nigeria shares land borders with Benin Republic, Chad, Niger, and Cameroon with over 1,400 illegal routes, a figure which grossly surpasses the approved border control posts in the country.
Now, reports indicate that smuggling and other illicit activities, as it were, and informal interaction patterns have tended to impact on very well-known international rules with respect to border crossing.
And these developments have given rise to informal economies along the land borders due to its porous nature, leading to many issues.
Now, among those issues, of course, are irregular migration, challenging border control, proliferation of arms, militancy, kidnapping, armed robbery, drug trafficking, and money laundering. There is also terrorism, plus claims and counterclaims to territories. Many
crimes in Nigeria have been directly linked to the influx of foreigners and, by extension, border-related, prompting actions at regional and national levels.
And one of such actions, of course, is the introduction of the biometric e-passport and current plans for e-surveillance of the land borders by the Nigerian government.
And the halt in mining activities in Zamfara State, as well as efforts to address illicit drug and human trafficking, as well as arms proliferation, are targeted at nipping these border crimes in the bud. These issues inform our focus on Nigeria's border security challenges. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria, the second in the week, and we are reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I am Kirian Umayo.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Kirian and also welcome you to the program, in the course of which we shall have our complementary segments, including business, newspaper review, foreign, entertainment, and others. For now, let's join our colleague Nolene Ebelame for the news. Hi, Nolene. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Kingsley. Good morning, Kirian, and good morning, Nigeria. Here is the early morning news. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has called on states to do more in boosting internally generated revenue in order to meet the needs of their people. At the induction of new and returning governors in Abuja, the Vice President reminded them of the heavy task ahead and pledges the support of the federal government irrespective of party affiliations.
Your Excellencies, the challenges that confront us in the next few years, especially in the areas of human capacity development, notably education, healthcare, and jobs for our young people, are monumental and they are historic. But we are more than able to surmount them. To do so, all the states of this federation and the federal government must see ourselves as one government. Our people in every state want the same things, and they suffer the same deprivations. And frankly, they don't really care who puts food on the table. Just put the food on the table.
In the meantime, the dominant theme at the induction for state governors organized by the Nigeria Governors Forum was how to use power for the benefit of the citizenry in a manner that delivers tangible results. As the nation intensifies efforts towards addressing security challenges, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo wants more collaboration among all security agencies to put an end to all forms of criminality in the country. He made the call at the closing ceremony to mark the Nigerian Air Force at 55.
As we provide new platforms for you to carry out your constitutional roles, Nigerians expect nothing short of exceptional service delivery from you. I'd like to urge greater cooperation and mutual trust between the various arms of our security agencies, even while maintaining the healthy spirit of competition that underpins innovation and increased efficiency.
Meanwhile, the famous Eagle Square Abuja this Monday hosted birds of a different kind as the Nigerian Air Force put up a display known as an Order of Battle Fly Past and military parade marking the Nigerian Air Force at 55.
Additionally, 2 new commands and 2 staff branches were established to meet the evolving security challenges we are faced with.
Still on security, the Nigerian Army has inaugurated a secured information platform with a dedicated server at the Cyber Warfare Command. What is the significance of this platform to the Army's operations and administration?
This launching is to afford the Nigerian Army an efficient and robust platform for paperless interactions that will ensure secure, speedy communication of correspondence between the various departments, formations, and units.
Similarly, the Nigerian Navy has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Pakistani Navy as part of measures towards checking economic sabotage and maintaining a safe maritime environment. This was made known during the visit of the Pakistan Chief of the Naval Staff, Admiral Zafar Mahmood Abbasi, to Nigeria.
Now is about the right time for us to figure out how best we can synergize, we can collaborate to see how we can surmount some of the challenges.
And I'm quite confident that as a sequel to my visit, we will have some tangible outcomes through which we'll be able to further strengthen our bilateral relationship.
A survey carried out by the National Human Rights Commission in collaboration with Clean Foundation indicates that of the 15 different forms of human rights abuses, more than 90% of the violations are being perpetrated by state actors. The survey, which is on human rights compliance and countering violent extremism, focused on Borno and Plateau states, given their history of violence. The report analyzed citizens' perception of human rights violations in relation to government efforts to address pressing security challenges, violent extremism, insurgency, and terrorism. The report also made suggestions to help in consolidating the measures adopted by government to combat violent extremism and terrorism. This is to complement government efforts in ensuring that security challenges adhere to the rules of engagement while carrying out their duties. Part of these suggestions include instituting an independent investigation panel and prosecution mechanism that will probe and prosecute violations, increasing civil society engagement to pressure and prevail on political, military and security leaders to reevaluate strategy as well as prioritizing soft approach to countering violent extremism.
I enjoin them to also be conscious of their human rights obligations in their operations.
On other laws and protocols that have been established also go a long way to show that Nigeria understands what is going on. Nigeria needs to protect her citizens, and Nigeria also needs to carry her citizens along as we fight insurgency.
The report also suggests that government needs to expand its communication reach to sensitize the public. In the last 4 years, Nigerians craved for a change and actualized it by putting in new ideological minds in the democratic space, hoping for a better living standard. That mandate was not taken for granted, as it was justified through provision of infrastructure in critical sectors, which has been captured in a publication, Proof of Infrastructure Delivery Across Nigeria, unveiled by the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing.
When oil was 100 plus barrels per day, it happened when the price of oil was perhaps $60, and perhaps at the time it dropped to below $30. And it validates what we have said about the importance of President Buhari's commitment to fighting corruption, because we have clearly done more with less.
The federal government has declared Wednesday, 1st of May 2019, a public holiday to celebrate the 2019 Workers' Day. A statement by the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Interior, Georgina Ikioma Ihuria, says Minister of Interior, Lieutenant General Abdurrahman Bello Dambazau, who made the declaration on behalf of federal government, congratulated Nigerian workers on their commitment and sacrifice towards building a greater Nigeria. He also commended workers' effort at ensuring the full implementation of the policies and programs of government through efficient and effective service delivery to Nigerians and foreigners at large. That's the news for now. Good morning. Nigeria continues with Kirian and Kingsley after this break. Thank you.
What's up?
His friends didn't come.
Hey, let's practice.
But you're going out.
Don't worry about me.
Nothing satisfies a mother more than seeing a child grow up. But I know as he sweats, he'll face the risk of germs which can cause skin irritation.
That's why you need the new Best Ever Dental Cool. Its new advanced formulation with extra menthol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs and gives your family icy cool freshness.
Growing up needs dental protection.
Dial it back for a minute to the old school. Everybody love me when I do what I do, cause when I come through I got the power of cool. The power of cool.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, now time for some business stories with the Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority expressing its readiness to focus on infrastructural development in 2019. And ECOWAS insists that the proposed single currency will strengthen trade in the sub-region. Our correspondent, Kunle Adeyeye, has details of the stories.
The Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority has announced its readiness to focus on the infrastructural development for the year 2019. This in its bid to use the sovereign wealth of the nation to bridge the huge infrastructural gap in the areas of primary health care, with particular reference to constructing more cancer centers, cardiology and nephrology centers. The NSIA stated this during the announcement of the audited financial results for 2018 financial year. The authority, which was established to manage funds in excess of budgeted hydrocarbon revenue, is expected to play a leading role in driving sustained economic development in Nigeria through building a savings base for the country and providing stabilization support in times of economic stress. According to the reports, the NSIA core value as at date is estimated at $1.5 billion with an investment of $25 million infra credit, which has attracted about $50 million from foreign and private partners.
Most of our radiologists, oncologists, and all the people that are involved have gone for training, and they're only just coming back in groups now. So we've started taking patients. But full operations will be when everybody that has gone for training has come back. So we expect this Root Cancer Center to become very, very busy very soon. And that reflects the fact that this is the single largest, according to the Minister of Health, the largest cancer treatment facility in West Africa today.
The report noted that outlook for 2019 projects an improved and sustained growth as the market volatility experienced in the previous years is expected to ease off. In another development, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has said the proposed single currency for member states of the sub-regional organization is to improve business in the region. Director of Trade ECOWAS, Benga Obideyi, said about 7 currencies being used as legal tenders by ECOWAS countries are not helping trade in the region to get to its peak.
We know that people, at the end of all transactions, they must get money. And we know that in West Africa today, we have about 7 different currencies. We have the Naira, we have the Dollar C, we have the Ghana CD, we have the UEMOA currency, which covers about 8 countries. And then we have the currencies of the 7 others. So every time, from economic point of view and from operational point of view, every time you trade in another currency and you have to change to your own currency, you incur a loss.
With business news, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
And that's Kunle Adeyeye with Business Package. And next on the program is Newspaper Review.
Our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atoyebe, is right here with us in the studios for today's review session. Bayo, good morning and welcome.
Thank you, Kingsley. Good morning. Good morning, Kyria.
Good
morning, Nigeria.
It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
All right.
Let's begin with the Daily Trust newspaper. We're back again to security issues. The lead story of the Daily Trust newspaper says, UBEC chairman and daughter abducted, driver shot dead. Hundreds missing as kidnappers strike again on Kaduna-Abuja road. UBEC chairman, daughter abducted, and driver shot dead. Hundreds missing as kidnappers strike again on Kaduna-Abuja road. Now, above that headline and below the nameplate, governors warn of another recession next year, and experts react. That's on page 3. Amechi and Akpabio reconcile. That's on page 13. And TCN, Transmission Company of Nigeria, discos need $4.3 trillion for capitalization. That's on page 17. And the photograph on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper shows Vice President Yemi Osinbajo arriving to represent President Muhammadu Buhari at the 55th anniversary celebration of the Nigerian Air Force, and that took place in Abuja yesterday. Now, right at the foot of the front page of the Daily Trust, Workers' Day, federal government declares Wednesday public holiday, and Buhari orders AGF, that's Attorney General of the Federation, to intervene in Zainab's case in Saudi Arabia. And federal government approves 20 private polytechnics and 32 enterprise institutions. That's page 12. Kyrian.
All right, to the leadership newspaper. The lead headline on Leadership newspaper. Fear grips politicians as INEC goes after campaign spending violators. With the two riders, begins compilation of defaulters list. Presidential candidates risk 1 year jail term. Governorship 9 months. Senators 6 months. It's on page 4 of the Leadership newspaper. And going down, we have other stories. A gala traditional rulers applaud Governor Bello's 4 years stewardship. That's on page 5. And then moving further down, President Muhammad Buhari will form government of national unity, says Oshibajo. And then UBEC chairman, daughter kidnapped. On page 11, I remain ADP national chairman, Sani says, is on page 13. And federal government to rescue female student detained in Saudi Arabia, on page 2. Army launches secured information platform. Page 10 has that story. Another recession looms, governors won. Bayo.
Well, let's start with the human interest story there. Kidnappers back on the prowl again on the Kaduna-Abuja expressway. In broad daylight, about 3:30 in the afternoon, kidnappers in military uniform stormed the highway. Already the chairman of UBEC has been kidnapped with the daughter. They shot the driver dead, and several commuters on the highway had to park on the both sides of the highway. It took the intervention of the security when they were called before they melted into the bush with so many persons adopted. And this is coming just a day after the Operation Puff Adder had indicated that they had arrested the person who killed the Agom Adara and also arrested the person they described as the spiritual leader of the kidnappers who are operating in that axis. Like an old dress now, the more you try to mend it on one side, it tends to be tearing in another side. This is the story of kidnapping, particularly in that axis. It spans from Kaduna-Abuja Highway up to Niger State, up to the forest in Bereningwari, across to Zamfara, where banditry is the order of the day. So it looks as if there is a serious network of criminals operating in this banditry in that part of
Is it as if there is, it is in existence, and they have proved it time and again that they have not been rooted out in the area, because the way they operate in the broad daylight, that shows the seriousness they are attached to the business they are doing, and to uproot them, it needs the extra mile. Of course, if you don't start from the bush where they have a settlement. Clearing those ones on the road is not enough, if you ask me, because they have a base, and that base is where they spring from, So security operatives should also think towards that, trying to get them from the very base, that they have.
There was an indication yesterday by the Vice President, and he said the National Economic Council will have to look at how to effectively boost fund security. And this, he says, will have to be a collaboration between the state, the federal government, and the private sector. And he indicated that certain persons in the private sector are also willing to contribute to security. This is to emphasize again the challenge that the nation is facing, because if you don't have the economy properly secured, there will not be attraction for economic investment. He also used the occasion that in 28 days' time, when the second term of President Muhammad Buhari is inaugurated, there is indication that the government is ready for an all-party cooperation that will accept a national unity government. He told inductees of elected governors that I have the president mandate to say that federal government stand ready to embark on the historic all-party cooperation to better the lives of all our citizens. On that same occasion, the chairman of the Nigeria's Governors Forum and governor of Zamfara State also raised an alarm, saying that if care is not taken, Nigeria will soon be going back into recession by next year. He was saying that between 2011 and 2014, crude oil price had remained between $100 and $114, but it dropped to $75 by mid of 2024. And so he was telling the governors who are returning and the governors elects that they have to embark on internally generated revenue and also manage their resources prudently, because recession is looming. However, there have been rebuttals to that. The chairman of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria says that from all indications, I don't know where His Excellency, the governor, got those information from. Said, yes, the economy is not growing as fast as wanted, but there are indications from IMF report, from World Bank reports, that the economy is growing very steadily. And therefore, unless he provides the data, it's very hard convincing to accept what he has said. Similarly, the chairman of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Moda Yusuf, also said that except the oil price drop below $50 per barrel, that is when there could be a possibility of what the governor is proposing. So,
all right, yeah, Bayo, that's what you just discussed now is the lead story for the Punch newspaper, referring also to MAN and SCCI, that's Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, whose Director General, Moda Yusuf, was always a regular guest with us on Good Morning Nigeria whenever we are discussing economic issues, have responded to. Now, let's take a look at other headlines on the front page of the Punch newspaper, above the nameplate and also two earpieces there. Now, above the nameplate, Reps panel backs IMF, says fuel subsidy is outdated. Page 23. Minimum wage, Labour vows to ground defaulting states. Nigeria's population now 201 million, says UN, that's page 7. And the story of the kidnap of the UBEC board chair and daughter, as well as the death of the driver, that story is there on page 9. Nigeria's oil exports plunge as Shell and Total declare force majeure, that's page 28. Amechi accuses Chinese firm of breaching railway contract. Details of that story on page 23. Now, just below, at the foot of the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have other headlines there. It says, INEC replacing servers to conceal rigging. That's the PDP making the allegation, page 12. And FCT court jails 27 women for prostitution. That's page 4. And Senate asks Minister and NEBSA MD to refund 14.3 billion naira. Federal government won't relent until security crisis end. That's according to Buhari, president. And judges' absence stars Bauchi governor-elect's rearrangement. That's page 9. Kieran.
Okay, let's take a look at the Daily Sun newspaper for this morning. And beside the nameplate, we have a Saudi drug cartel. Buhari directs AGF to intervene in Zainab's case. With the rider, the federal government should investigate true identity of the accused. That's on page 6. And the lead story is another recession coming, governors warn, with two riders. Yari NGF chair gives mid-2020-2021 as next period of economic decline. Federal government has spent 1.1 trillion naira on bailout, says Oshibajo. And now, beside the photograph on the front page of the Daily Sun, we have alleged bribery. Bauchi governor-elect's arraignment stalled. EFCC, Mohammed Trade Worlds, that's page 4 and 5. And then Senate leadership, Abia APC caucus backs Carlo for Deputy Senate President. That's on page 11. The PSC commissioners reject IGP's reversal order on posting. It's on page 4. With a rider, say commission has not reviewed police posting policy. Let's return to Bayo now.
Yeah, just before we do that, let me take some other headlines, Bayo, from the Nigerian Tribune, and then we'll come to you. Nigerian Tribune, above the nameplate, said forces beyond INEC created problems for 2019 elections. That's according to observers. With a rider, demand new electoral act. And then below the nameplate, there are three headlines there. We'll take APC in fresh petition at tribunal, says Atiku lied by claiming Nigerian birth. That's details on page 33. And Dixon declines assent to life pension for Bayelsa lawmakers. That story is there.
Yeah, he's been trending for a while now.
It's been trending. That's to say the governor has declined assent to life pension for Bayelsa lawmakers.
Yes, actually, he cited that it was a violation of Section 124 of the Constitution. And he says that, yes, the members of the State House of Assembly may propose pension for others, but they cannot propose pension beyond what the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission has proposed for them. And he said that as far as he's concerned, the proposal was like feathering their own nest, and it is from all records, it is only Bayelsa State throughout the Federation that has such a law. Nigeria Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress had a rally yesterday, and in the rally they were advocating for government to make bold initiative to create decent jobs in the Nigerian environment. This, they say, will go a long way to engage the youth and curb incidents of crime at to a minimum level. They also enjoined on all employers of labor, both in the public and the private sector, to implement the new minimum wage. The other story of interest, apart from that of the Bayelsa, is also a story that's been trending from the Senate. The Senate panel has directed the Minister of Industry, Trade and Industry to refund 14.3 billion to the Treasury. The fund was said to have been set aside for a new entity described as the Special Economic Zone. In the year 2017, 46.17 billion was set aside. In 2018, 40 billion was set aside, and 42 billion was meant to be set aside for 2019. And the Senate panel, however, frowned at that initiative because the entity that has been established sees federal government having 25% shares, while what they describe as a private entity having 75% shares. But it has also been explained that federal government says it is represented by the Ministry of Finance with 25% share, while the Special Economic Zone has 75%. It was planned as initiative for industrial revolution in the country. There is this also human interest story I want to draw attention to. The oldest monarch in the world has died at age 116. He was the Oba Banyi of Oheonwa of Ihima in Okehi local government area of Kogi State. He was on the throne for 36 years. And at 116, I wonder if he was still able to control the activities. But his subjects are very happy with him because they said he exuded love and cooperation, and his people liked him very well.
All right. Yes, there's one story we didn't talk about, just briefly, that the APC, Amechi's APC faction, in River State, have decided to work with Wike. Maybe we're going to start seeing peace in River State. It's been a flashpoint,
In fact, that is a follower from Easter. That was the strong message that came from the principals in the bloody clashes that have been in Rivers. And that is a very good turning point. Using Easter, the period of peace and goodwill to all, to irradiate such kind of goodwill for political peace in Rivers. I think that's a very good one.
All right, Bayo, we thank you for your analysis this morning. We hope to see you again tomorrow for more analysis on the headlines on national dailies. Thank you for coming, Bayo.
Thank you for having me.
All right, you are watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we return, I will take you on the first leg of our conversation this morning.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Advertising your goods and services on the right channel gives you an edge over your competitors. NTA News 24 has all the platforms for your target audience. The station is on DSTV channel 419, GoTV channel 46, StarTimes channel 101, and Free TV channel 703. With our digital format and wide range, we can reach your customers in next to no time. We are eager to promote your business, goods, and services. So, partner with us for a very rewarding business experience. For more information, please call Henry on 0803-379-0884 or visit our office at NTA Headquarters, Area 11, MP Abuja. NTA News 24. News and more news.
NTA Television College Jos announces admissions into 2 years diploma programs in film and television production, television engineering, and broadcast journalism. The sale of forms will commence on the 13th of May and run through 30th July 2019. Admission forms can be obtained from all marketing offices, NTA state capital stations, zonal centers, or at the office of the academic secretary, NTA Television College, Rayfield, Jos. Applicants are required to possess 5 credits in GCE or SSCE in relevant areas of study in not more than 2 sittings, including English and mathematics. All properly completed forms attached with photocopies of credentials must be submitted on or before 30th July 2019. For further inquiries, please visit our website at ntatvc.com or call 0803 3144 383.
NTA TV College, training you to be the best you want to be.
Registrar Announcer.
When I was a little girl, I loved spending time with Mum and Grandma cleaning the house. I was so excited to sing in the choir.
And your shirts are always so white.
I knew what Mum's secret was. Today, I'm a modern woman that still trusts the secret passed down to me. It's Jik, of course. The original trusted bleach, which can be used all around your house for amazing results.
Shh, it's our little secret.
It's no secret. It's Jik's best ever extra whitening power. Just Jik it.
All right, now before we take a look at the border security challenges that Nigeria is currently experiencing, let's talk briefly about the result of a recently concluded HIV/AIDS indicator and impact survey.
And this is a 2018 national household-based survey on ages 0 to 64 that assessed the prevalence of HIV and other related health indicators.
Now, home-based HIV counseling and testing services were provided to the various households that were surveyed. And joining us now in the studios to talk about the outcome of that survey, we'd like to welcome Dr. Aliyu Gambo. Dr. Aliyu Gambo, of course, is the country director of the University of Maryland in Baltimore, the Nigerian program. Dr. Gambo, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Okay.
What informed this survey in the first place?
Nigeria wanted to know where the burden lies in terms of the numbers of people that have HIV/AIDS in Nigeria. We have had previous surveys on HIV, but we never had a survey that is as robust and as representative as NICE. So this is the current thing in the world, the trend that is taking place, especially in countries where investments have been made for a long period of time on HIV treatment and prevention.
What do the numbers show from your survey?
So our numbers show that there are less people living with HIV/AIDS in Nigeria than we had earlier thought, and the burden is not as high as we had earlier thought and estimated. So this is good news for Nigeria, which means for the first time Nigeria is knowing that we are really close to controlling HIV/AIDS epidemic in Nigeria, and what we need to do is, as the president says, and the last time when this results was launched, push for the last mile. So this is what needed to be done right now. Push as hard as we can push to the last mile, which means push to get HIV virus under control in Nigeria. It's doable and we can do it.
Well, we also understand that the survey is not just the only responsibility you have. Can you tell us about the access of HIV cells in Nigeria? What has it been like, over the years?
It's been good, and it's been on the increasing side. And the good thing we found out from the survey is that people who are accessing HIV treatment and care in Nigeria are doing very well on treatment, and they are doing very well also on getting the virus under control. One thing that we found out, which is perhaps probably on the negative side, is that there are a lot of people out there in Nigeria that have HIV in them, but they don't know they have that disease.
You were talking, Akira, and I'd like Dr. Gambo to return to the numbers arising from the survey. You're saying that HIV and AIDS isn't as prevalent as previously thought. So what comparative figures are we looking at? What is the prevalence rate now, if we have a sense of that?
Right. So let me say this. Back in 2017, we were thinking the prevalence of HIV is around 3%. But what we saw is a figure almost half of that, 1.4%. Let me explain what this means. If you pick Nigerians at random, close your eyes and pick 200 Nigerians. What we were thinking in the past is if you test them for HIV, 6 of them are likely going to turn up HIV positive. But what this recent data show is that if you do that, you pick 20 Nigerians at random and you give them HIV test, you're likely to see 3 instead of 6.
Okay, that's the prevalence at the moment now.
That's the prevalence at the moment.
Well, there were always the high-risk groups, commercial sex workers, for instance, persons, who are drug addicts, sharing all kinds of needles and syringes, and then those, of course, who engage either in bestiality or in, single-sex relationships.
Right.
What did the survey cover these groups?
So the survey covers the general population, not specifically targeted at this group, but we have a measure within the survey that helps us to estimate the size of this group. There are other survey or size estimation projects that are ongoing. Some have been concluded that give us an idea about the size of this population, the size of the networks. That's people that are high risk, people that inject drugs, and people that have men that have sex with men, and commercial sex workers. Yes.
Now, University of Maryland, one wonders, the interest of the university with respect to HIV and AIDS, especially in Africa. What other plans, does it have for Nigeria, especially in terms of fighting HIV/AIDS?
Thank you. University of Maryland has been in country here and has been helping Nigerians HIV program for nearly 2 decades. We were there from the start when PEPFAR program was introduced. So University of Maryland assisted in establishing centers for treatment, centers for prevention of mother-to-child transmission, as well as laboratories. Most of the reference laboratories that are now in country were established by University of Maryland or with the help of University of Maryland. And that extends beyond HIV also to tuberculosis. And going forward, we want to do even more. Now we are working with government of Nigeria to make sure that there is robust data repository in terms of knowing the people that are currently living with HIV/AIDS and taking treatment and doing well on treatment. Instead of waiting until when we have survey to know this number, now we will know this number nearly on a weekly basis, or perhaps probably by the time we progress further, we will know it near real time. That's at any point in time. If you want to have these numbers about Nigeria, it's just click the button and you have it.
Still tell us some more about the interest of University of Maryland in the health sector in Nigeria, in particular with reference to HIV and AIDS. Is it just research to generate numbers and numbers that could then impact on policy, or you are also involved in utilizing the numbers to facilitate the provision of the needs of supplies for persons who are either undergoing treatment, or otherwise?
Right. So the essence of generating these numbers are to assist or to support policy and decision making. And this policy and decision making, the responsibility of the government of Nigeria. Our own is to help get this information out and make it available to Nigeria, make it available to organizations helping Nigeria to fight HIV/AIDS.
Now, I'm sure that University of Maryland and other universities who have the wherewithal to carry out their research works on HIV has been going on for a while now. Now, in terms of research to determine whether HIV and AIDS can get a cure, could you just let us know what has happened? Now, globally speaking now, what has happened in the area of research. Well, we also heard about vaccine, for HIV and all that. So what's the situation like?
So vaccine for HIV is, I think, something that I began with my career with earlier, way back in 2003. So I was involved in associations or organizations that help promote HIV vaccine research in Africa and as well as globally. But the thing is, there has not been much breakthrough with vaccine. But in terms of where treatment lies and what the strategies are going forward, I think there are promising results now from research that are ongoing in terms of modifying treatment. Now treatment is taken once daily. So there are promising products that are currently undergoing investigation. When this is completed, it is very likely that individuals will come to a hospital instead of taking this drug daily, will take it as a depot. You come, they give you injection, and they say, okay, bye, we see you in 3 months. And that's it. You come every 3 months and take your injection, and you control the body. So the bottom line now is not pushing for vaccine much, but pushing for control, making sure that the virus is under control. The good thing is that once this virus is controlled, and this is the goal going forward, once this virus is controlled, transmission is almost reduced. It can be reduced to the barest minimum. It is still there, it's still there, but it's not the same as somebody who has the virus in him and is not taking medication. So if a person has the virus and is taking medication and this virus is under control, there is less likelihood that that virus can spread, can leave him to infect his spouse or his loved one, and certainly if spouse are not infected, probably children will not have it.
What does your survey show with regard to gaps, if any, in terms of access to HIV treatment?
The data the results we release are preliminary, which means we give those numbers that Nigeria is currently at the moment interested in for programming and for policy, as well as organizations assisting Nigeria with that. So in terms of gap or the unmet needs, access to care, those ones we're still analyzing the data and we will come up with this. But let me say this, the largest gap we have seen now at the moment is people that have HIV in them, but they don't know they have. Certainly because, one, they have never attempted to know their status in the past. If they had known, they would have probably find ways to access treatment and prevention.
Now, in a word or two, is there any research, that is focusing on herbal medicine, especially in Africa? We are rich in herbals. We have roots, leaves, and all that. Is there any research focusing on the possibility of using local herbs to fight HIV and AIDS?
So, here in Africa, perhaps probably there are some ongoing, which I'm not aware of. But let me say, all the medications that we currently use are originally herbal, which means they have their root from the herbal. It's just the fact that they have undergone some refined processes where they are packed and packaged in such a way that they look very nice and appealing to take, but they share common origin with the herbal medicines we have. So the herbal medicine that are currently perhaps probably being explored by people may turn up later to be part of the medicines that we now currently give at the hospital level.
All right. On that note, we'd like to thank Dr. Aliyu Gambo, who is country director of the University of Maryland, Baltimore Nigerian program. Dr. Gambo, thanks a lot for being with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, it's Good Morning Nigeria, still on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're taking a short break now. When we return, we'll get ahead with our principal item for discussion today, and that has to do with Nigeria's border security challenges.
Advertising your goods and services on the right channel gives you an edge over your competitors. NTA News 24 has all the platforms for your target audience. The station is on DSTV channel 419, GoTV channel 46, StarTimes channel 101, and Free TV channel 703. With our digital format and wide range, we can reach your customers in next to no time. We are eager to promote your business, goods, and services. So, partner with us for a very rewarding business experience. For more information, please call Henry on 0803-379-0884 or visit our office at NTA headquarters, Area 11, Abuja. NTA News 24. News and more news.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Can I see your particulars, sir?
Officer, my particulars no dey here.
In that case, you'll have to come with me to the police station.
Officer, which levels? Where I for find you something make you take arrange your weekend.
What? Offense number 1, driving without particulars. Offense number 2, trying to bribe an officer of the law.
I won't harass Nigerians or take bribe. Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Now, to set the tone for our second issue today, which is on Nigeria's border security challenges, let's take this report compiled by our correspondent Aisha Obali.
Nigeria's land borders have been described as porous, therefore paving way for all sorts of criminal activities such as human trafficking, smuggling, drug trafficking, armed robbery, money laundering, illicit arms trafficking, and lately terrorism. Activities of these criminals have not put the country in good light. These and more have been a source of concern for policymakers, scholars, and international analysts. With over 1,000 entry points into the country, Nigeria continues to grapple with border-related challenges and other crimes such as kidnapping, armed robbery, and banditry. Relevant agencies have made efforts at curbing the problem. They have adopted mechanisms to check the trend, even though much has not been achieved. The recent ban on mining activities in Zamfara State and the e-surveillance are part of government directives at curbing the menace. How will these issues check the problem? How are concerned authorities making further plans to address these issues? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will be responding to these and more shortly.
All right, thank you very much there for that backgrounder, Aisha Obali. Let's welcome the three guests that we're having for this conversation this morning. First, we'd like to welcome Dr. Emmanuel Brasco Ifeadi, is a former Deputy Controller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service. Dr. Ifeadi, pleasure to have you with us on Good Morning Nigeria. Sir. Okay. And also joining us via Skype from Yenagoa in Bayelsa is Jadeshola Babatola. Jadeshola Babatola is a research scholar in political history and currently the Registrar and Secretary to Council of the Federal Polytechnic at Kowe in Bayelsa. Mr. Babatola, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning. I'm sure. Well, you saw him a while ago on the split screen.
We hope it's going to be...
Yeah, we hope that the Skype connection will be stable in the course of the conversation. And from our Kaduna Network Center, we have Mohammed Ali. Of course, he's a security expert. We've had him from time to time whenever we're discussing security issues. Mohammed Ali, pleasure to have you with us again on Good Morning Nigeria.
It's my pleasure, Mr. Kingsley.
All right, gentlemen, you're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria once again. And the issue on our hands has to do with the challenges of Nigerian borders with security as the number one. Let's begin with Dr. Brasco Ifadi. Now, give us an idea of what you think is happening at the nation's border with respect to several challenges that Nigeria has encountered over the years with respect to policing our borders properly, and of course the inherent challenges therein.
Well, the issue of our borders and security for the country have been a very, very tall issue, in the sense that for over, since independence, we'll be having this problem of incessant attacks at the border, conflicts emanating from people who reside within the border. Again, is the issue of modern threat on terrorism. The Boko Haram issue is a case in point, and many of such situations. Again, is the issue of irregular migration and human trafficking that have become so rife within the country and outside the country. So based on this, it has been a threat. We also have issues of armed robbery, that, cross-border banditry, that has, weakened the security apparatus of the country. So I feel it's a very, very serious matter.
Okay, Dr. Ifadi, thank you very much. Let's go to Jadeshola Babatola very quickly, of course, who is a researcher in political history, focusing more on Nigeria's borders. Jadeshola, give us a sense of what, in your opinion, is happening right now with regard to Nigeria's borders with her neighbors.
The issue of border security is a major challenge that affects our territory as a nation. It also affects our regional cooperation with other stakeholders and neighboring countries. And the challenge is, a major challenge now is international terrorism. Vis-a-vis the attacks coming from marauders, armed bandits, or from other parts of West Africa, attacks on our country, various angles. Apart from issues of smuggling, human trafficking, and so many challenges that we're in a position now that we need to focus how to safeguard Nigeria from being eroded this unfortunate situation. And as such, the decision of the federal government to move forward in that angle is a welcome development, and it has something that has to build upon, and it must come with concrete results, because if we don't have concrete results for what we have started now, it will be like a waste of investment. And I believe that the only way for us as a nation to do it is to do it right, not just going into e-border monitoring alone, but making effort to build sustainable infrastructure around security and defense. And that cannot be done with just some gadget somewhere. There must be well-fashioned out infrastructures in the gateway communities, areas that will link itself to each other. And these are very important issues, because we may not be able to discuss everything about security and defense on the face of a screen. But those who are in charge should know that it's not something we just take for levity. UK spent over 400 million pounds on border issues, and Nigeria is just spending 57 billion now, which is less than 150 or 160 million dollars. But whatever we're going to do to start doing something well, it must focus on integrating all the security agents, all the defense and military hierarchy and infrastructures and structures to be able to assist us once and for all in monitoring our borders, controlling immigration in and out of the country, and taking proper steps to control and check people coming in, unauthorized illegal movement into our country.
All right, thank you indeed. We will surely get back to you in the course of this conversation. But now let's turn to our person in Kaduna, Mohammed Ali. Mohammed Ali, you reside up north, and I believe that you have a perspective to the situation in question. Now, let me paint this scenario for you. It is believed that the porous nature of our border, serves as a conduit for illicit transactional traffic of small arms, light weapons, and drugs, and it has further exacerbated, by the limited presence of security operatives, manning our borders. Now, there also the issue of where we have security operatives at the borders, they are ill-equipped, to actually, fight all those abnormalities at the borders. Now, what's your take on what could be done? Jadashola has just raised a number of issues concerning that. What's your own take on the entire scenario?
Thank you very much, Kieran. The issue of border security challenges in Nigeria are many as we speak. But the greatest challenges being faced today is that of international terrorism, which is well abated and aided by religious and violent extremism, coupled with the porous nature of our borderlines. Side by side, the lack of opportunity for economic and social mobility within a society that aggressively pursues consumption. Side by side, scandalous opulence and corruption. Worse still is the proliferation of transnational trafficking of small arms and light weapons, which unfortunately Nigeria today as we speak has become a conduit for this trade of small arms and light weapons, including narcotics. This makes it worse. And as we speak, Nigeria, particularly up here in the north, we have dozens of states that share common borders with our neighboring countries. Nigeria, we must know, has a landmass, the borderline, that is as far as 4,047 kilometers that covers the borders within Benin Republic, Chad, Niger, and Cameroon. So it is not an easy thing to man these borders. But as you asked, the personnel of the immigration department need to be seriously trained, and they also need to be encouraged to put Nigeria first, because we have had cases of compromise or situation where people are not doing what they are supposed to do as agents of state. Hence, the problem of the proliferation of light arms and small weapons coming in and out. And of course, the issue of Boko Haram, quite a number of the insurgents that are fighting in the northeastern axis of this country, some of them are flowing in from Niger and Cameroon and Chadian border that we have with Nigeria. So what are the personnel stationed in the border post doing. Although we must admit the fact that we have over 1,316 illegal entry routes into Nigeria. The approved border checkpoints of this country are only 84, but in existence as we speak, 1,316 illegal routes. What is the immigration department doing to curtail this? These, I think, are questions that certainly demand answers. Efforts must be made to ensure that we checkmate this. Otherwise, the problems will certainly continue.
All right, Mohammed Ali, well, thank you very much there for your opening salvo. Just to indicate that we invited officials from the Nigeria Immigration Service. We're expecting maybe one or two of them to join us later on in the course of the conversation. But here with us already, and he's also made his opening statement, is Dr. Braska Ifeadi, who retired as Deputy Comptroller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service. And my question is going back to him now, Dr. Ifeadi. There are two statements we hear often about Nigeria's borders. Oh, Nigeria's border is so long, as Dr. Mohammed Ali was saying, over 4,000 kilometers. By the time you take it from the Lagos end, that's with Benin Republic, go up through Chad, go through Niger, Chad, and then down to Cameroon, 4,000. That's one point. The second point is that, we have only so few numbers of official entry points, but we have over 1,000, almost 1,400 illegal entry points. Are these just givens? Is that a rationale for doing nothing, considering the immense security challenges that the country is now facing on account of the porosity of our borders?
I want to say very categorically that he's correct in terms of the expansive nature of the border, but it will not be too reflective of the efforts of the Nigerian Immigration Service to say they are doing nothing. Actually, they have been doing a lot. I thank God I worked for 34 years before I retired, and I know that all the Controller Generals of Immigration Service have always done so much to ensure that these borders are maintained. Unfortunately, the expansive nature of the border is so terrible, and it's not just the border. Immigration works as an entity in a larger society with a lot of negative group thinking. When you try your best, others are working anti what you're doing. So immigration has been doing so much. And that's why you see every year they expand the number of borders being manned, the routes being manned, and patrol bases being created in between control posts. Because that has been the issue. When you have control posts, with a wide spade in between each control post, it becomes a problem. And that is what encourages illegal routes. And they are doing so much to curtail it. With the new development of this e-border, which unfortunately the first speaker criticized that it's not enough, it will go a long way to ameliorate this problem.
What is e-border surveillance? What does that mean?
E-border surveillance had to do with the deployment of relevant high modern technology to man these control posts and other, unmanned border areas along the flank. When you have this technology, it helps in the monitoring, the real-time surveillance mechanisms to ensure that people will know what is going on at any point. So I think it's better explain very wide about it. Now, now that you see a situation where you establish this e-border system with the right technology, you have a chain effect of control, where you have the video surveillance system right at the border that tells you all that happens right at the border and around the flank. And you have control units, both at the patrol bases, at the state command, at the service headquarters, and even the Ministry of Interior. That is the new system when it is done, where everybody knows that they are watching them. Even the issue of compromise will no more be there, because people know that they are watching. I was once in Spain, and I saw what I'd never seen before, where in their control unit, you can zoom somebody who is even right in the counter stamping. So when you have that kind of mechanism in Nigeria here, where we now key into the best practices done in other parts of the world, I think things will improve.
Well, if we had the opportunity of having a serving immigration officer, would have gotten a better, not better, but more explanations on this and how they are going to man such a high-tech, technology that you talked about. But Muhammad Ali talked about compromise, which usually comes from those that are responsible for manning these borders. But we know that the audacity and the carnage of Boko Haram between 2011 and 2014 was to the proliferation of the arms and ammunition from maybe Libya and other countries, neighboring countries, and they brought them in at the back of camels, donkeys, cattle, inside trucks, trailers, and of course petrol tankers, right? And I'm not sure you can convince Nigerians that some of the officers manning these borders cannot see all those movements. And the important thing here is how patriotic are those manning the borders, and if they are ill-equipped, the technology issue, detecting those movements may not work at all. So, from your experience, as a former staff of the police, what do you think could be done, to ensure that if those movements are spotted, that they are stopped, from entering Nigeria? Because after all said and done, these are criminal activities that come from, from our borders.
I want to state, first of all, that it is not only immigration that you have some bad element that compromise. It's in all security agencies. But then I want to state very categorically that immigration authorities have taken stern actions against such officers. They are very little. But the major problem is that these bad elements, like people passing with cattle, carry arms, they don't pass through the real borders. They pass through these illegal routes that we're talking about, that this technology will help to protect properly. Now, the issue, I want Nigerians to understand this system will work with this technology, because when you zoom all these areas, include surveillance, it is easy for you to, through the surveillance, to know where you need reinforcement or people have to go quickly there to act accordingly. Because the border area is really not just wide, but very dangerous. Very dangerous.
Dr. Ifade, I mean, while we pause the other two guests in Kaduna and the other guests with us via Skype from the Enugu, I still would like you to give a sense of what we are getting into with regard to e-border surveillance. Okay. Now, there are fewer than 100 formal, border posts, and there are over 1,000, illegal border posts. How will the e-surveillance effectively cover these illegal posts? And to the extent, of course, illegal posts means that you don't have formal official presence in those locations.
You can see from the e-system what is proposed. You can see the amount, 52.8 billion naira. It's not small money. A lot of areas will be open beyond what is existing today. And that will help us to help the Immigration Service and other security agencies to ensure that most of those areas not manned will be manned. When you have them in what I call patrol bases, in between, it will cancel out these areas where you have deficits. And once you have that information, you see the rapid response will be wonderful, where you know where you're going to. So you will not be taken unawares. Most of the problems we have, even with the military, is sabotage, like our colleague just said, where even among your colleagues, there are some people giving information. But that does not cancel the effort made by the security agencies, because even with the system, the data that will be collected from the computers and from the system will help share information between security agencies. So you have inter-agency synergy working properly to ensure that national security is properly maintained.
All right, thank you very much indeed. Let's return to Jedeshola Babatola via Skype in Yenagoa Bayelsa State. We listened to your opening comments, and I would like you to go further, because it is important to avoid any catastrophic consequence of war between Nigeria and her neighbors with respect to issues of border. Now, but there is need to ensure secured border. What should be the right formula? Because for us to secure our border, we also need to have a kind of synergy, between the nation and the neighboring countries. So, what should be the right formula here now to ensure that our borders are properly secured and policed?
If I could guess right, there. Anything that we are going to do as a nation to ensure that we starts from engaging the border communities, the frontline communities, the gateway communities in a cooperative effort, as well as the political jurisdiction, the various political institutions across the borders, is not something that can be achieved without cooperation of our neighbors. Our neighbors need to also key into our vision. Our vision to protect our borders can only be achieved when we have a collaborative effort. Because as long as our citizens have a propensity for goods that are coming in cheaper, or fake products, or illicit drugs, items that will not be of benefit to the economy, or which can give them a leeway to survive. On the other hand, they are also depending to a great end on our economy. There will always be loopholes, and you have people in our system who want to compromise. There will always be loopholes. So the problem starts with, have we engaged the various communities around our borders? Have we effectively engaged them in understanding the need to respect our territorial integrity? Our problem started from the colonial era, because people of the same ethnic background have been divided into different sovereign states. You find Yorubas in Benin Republic, you find Hausa in Republic, Chad, Cameroon. People in that border as people. People have people on the other side. We have Nigerians, foreigners on the other side. Can you easily identify whether they are Nigerians or when they speak the same language? In the local dialect, their accent is a different. So there are issues there that we need to also look at. Each border can only be effective when people cooperate. Those who are in charge of a system, those who will see to its implementation, they will do their job without compromise. They will be well equipped. This surveillance will not even be the only way out. They have to know all the routes and where each of these routes ends. All the legal routes will find a place to somewhere. So we have to mount. We have to mount at those points, the end point of every route, the legal route, all the bringing goods, where it ends, where the land. That's the best way to coordinate. If we cannot coordinate at the border, we should be able to know how these goods pass through one place to the other. In the same way, human traffic, where we are seeing what do you call it, the boundary coming from. There are communities that houses these bandits either in Nigeria or in the other side of Nigeria. We need to engage the government of these countries to ensure that they also monitor. As long as there is it's difficult to achieve total success in this, but we must start from somewhere. We must not say because we are finding it difficult that we will not do something. We have to do something to save our nation from total collapse. And the greatest threat we are having is coming from our borders. When we look at the problem with Boko Haram, when you look at the issue in Zamfara, when you look at attacks on our people in Cross River and all those areas, you know that our major problem are people from the other end and collaborators in our system. So we need to find a way to dissuade collaborators here, and we need to nip the issue in the power. We need to improve on infrastructure, particularly here.
Kingsley, you know, yes, that is an important point that he raised, you know, because of his delivery. You know, he talked about the issue of having Nigerians who have become nationals of our neighbors by way of border demarcation. We have Yorubas who have in Cameroon. We have the Hausas who are in Niger. They speak the same language and are in border communities. So he was talking about collaborators, you know, and all of that. So now, how do you distinguish? Because they speak the same language. How do you know who's a Nigerian and who is not?
Yeah, but the border community issue is a very significant one. There is an agency, actually, a federal government agency, dealing with border communities, and Professor Ashiwaju dealt with this subject matter for a very long time, particularly on the western border, that's between Nigeria and Benin Republic, where you have Yorubas who are intermingling with those from Benin Republic. But because of the fairly weak signals we're getting via Skype from Yenugoa, and our guest, Jadeshola Babatola, I would like to thank him at this time for being part of our conversation. So let's go over to Mohammed Ali, still in our Kaduna Network Center. Mohammed, I would like us to dwell surely again on the issue of the borders and the various communities around the border areas. There is a sense of artificiality, you know, arising from the 1884 to 1885 Berlin Conference, where various communities were balkanized by those who were splitting the African continent. In the northern parts of the country, for instance, is there a sense of strong national identity or strong ethnic identity? In other words, do people see themselves first as Nigerians, or they just see themselves as part of an ethnic stock without regard, you know, for whatever artificial lines there are with regard to international law?
Very much. There is a very strong sense of national identity up here in the north, particularly within our border communities, like in places like Kadamawa, Borno, Jigawa, Yobe, Kano, Katsina, Sokoto, and Kebbi states. All these are states that have common borders with our neighboring countries like Niger, Chad, Cameroon, and of course across the borders, like in Niger Republic, there are elements of Kanuri-speaking people in Niger who are indigenous to Niger. While, of course, in Borno State we also have Kanuris. We will not blame these people for finding themselves either in Nigeria or in Niger Republic. If we have to lay blame, if at all, then we should blame the scramble for Africa when the Western nations came scrambling to take word for themselves and issues like that. But certainly there is a very strong issue of national identity and nationalism up here in the north. But basically what we are talking about is the issue of the e-monitoring. It is quite an excellent innovation, and I do believe if we put some seriousness in its usage, it's going to yield result. Because as I earlier said, we have only 84 official border control posts. So with the e-border tracking system intended to be introduced, it gives us a leverage to be able to actually check and with probity people who are within the system and trying to sabotage the system. Because as the doctor rightly said in his remarks, you can sit right in the situation room or at the immigration headquarters and monitor what is happening, particularly in the 1,316 illegal entry points we have across the nation. So the e-monitoring system is excellent, is something that needs to be done. Government should be encouraged to do it, but members or personnel of the immigration department needs to be actually trained seriously, or let me say, special hands should be picked from within the personnel for proper training in order to handle this, so that we make sure that whoever is selected to be part of the squad that will be in charge of the e-monitoring, people of very high degree of trust, so that they will not in any way compromise. Because the issue we are having is not just that of our inability to man the borders, but the issue of people wanting to look the other way in order to make extra coins. This, I think, essentially is the problem.
Stay with you, Muhammad Ali in Kaduna. I'm just wondering, some skeptics might say, look, we are usually very elaborate and celebratory when we are launching new things, but give it a few months, give it a couple of years, and we are back to square one. How many Nigerian cities today have CCTVs to monitor goings on? In Abuja, if you recall, about 7 or 8 years ago, there was an elaborate launch of CCTVs all over. You have them.
Not even as far as 8 years ago. About 5 or 6 years ago.
A number of those devices, some of them had solar panels. They have all been accidented, damaged beyond control and beyond repair. Can we be so sanguine? In other words, can we be so hopeful that when we have this e-monitoring system, again in 2011, you recall there was an elaborate display at the police headquarters so they can see what was going on in and around the Federal Capital Territory. Exactly. What do we have today?
Mr. Kingsley, thank you very much. I want to believe that Nigeria and Nigerians are getting ready to move into the next level by May 29 by the special grace of God. So let us all believe that this plan of the e-monitoring thing will certainly work. But the CCTV you talked about in Abuja, actually it was planned to fail because the CCTV brought into Abuja from the beginning were not the right ones that are supposed to be there. Some of them have already been outdated from the countries of manufacture. It was only intended to enrich a few hands. That was why the contract was given, and from the day most of them were fixed, they are not even functioning. So that is what killed the CCTV in Abuja and any other city in the country that we can talk about. But I believe, and sincerely too, that this issue of e-monitoring is intended for good, it is intended to work, and certainly I urge all Nigerians to give their support. But members of the immigration department should be careful, should have the love of Nigeria first. Let Nigeria be the first thing over and above any other consideration. If they do that, I believe we will be able to surmount the problem and we will be able to check the excesses of the illegal entry routes into our country.
Thank you, but we're going to stay with you. I wanted to make some clarifications, and that's with respect to Kingsley's initial question, which is germane to this conversation. Of course, what we believe to be the aftermath of the Berlin conference and all of that. You alluded to the fact, that there is a nationalism, a sense of nationalism in Nigerians. But let me take you back to the border issue, where we have Nigerians or Nigerians that look alike, speak one language, they are in the border communities. Movements may not be properly controlled in terms of identification of who is a Nigerian or who is a Nigerian. So that is where the problem comes in. And when this movement, take place, well, of course, we know what follows. It could be illicit drugs. It could be, firearms, light weapons that someone can just put in his pocket and cross the border. Now, give us further clarification on what you mean by that there is nationalism among Nigerians. How do we differentiate people who look alike, speak one language, dress alike, and what have you?
Mr. Kiran, people within the West African sub-region, not just from the north here, the entire West African sub-region, we have that commonality of look-alike and issues like that. But one important thing I believe we need to put in focus is the fact that people coming in from Niger, of course, we look alike. They are black just like us, and issues like that. But the problem which we must accept and try to correct is the fact that officials of the Immigration Department, for goodness sake, need to have the love of Nigeria first and foremost in their minds. Because the question arises, how those people from Niger Republic, for example, come in to get Nigerian international passport? How do people from Niger Republic come in to get Nigeria's national ID card? All these are questions that are germane, questions that really need a further, probing into, so that we'll be able to solve some of these problems. And the bottom line of it all boils down to the issue of money. And this was why in my opening remarks, I talked about the issue of corruption and things like that. So until we are ready to fight corruption and ensure we kill it, we'll continue to face some of these teething problems. We look alike certainly, but looking alike does not mean we will not stay and do our job. People that are entrusted with the responsibility of checking our borderlines must do it without compromise. But anybody who feels the work is too much for him, let him or her resign and leave the service. There are millions of Nigerians, young and able-bodied, that are daily looking for a job. And of course, again, there is the need to improve on the strength of the immigration service. With the porosity of our borderline, I think the number of personnel in the immigration service are adequately, are seriously inadequate. If, for example, we talk about the custom. The custom opened their portal last week. They want to employ 3,000 personnel. As I speak today, over 10 million have applied. For goodness sake, are we actually serious? On a yearly basis, we need not to employ less than, we must not employ less than 100,000, particularly in the immigration service, so that we'll have to boost their number with which we'll be able to adequately man the official 84 entry points, and then the others will be able to partake in patrolling and making sure the 1,316 illegal entry routes are properly monitored, manned, and checked.
Mohammed Ali, thanks a lot. Very quickly, let's return to Dr. Ifeadi before we take a short break. Mohammed Ali has raised a number of points, but one of them that I would like you to respond to in the meantime has to do with the ethical issues. That the success of the e-surveillance or indeed any other measures that may be proposed would depend significantly on the level of integrity displayed by officers of the immigration service. It's fairly common knowledge that non-Nigerians hold Nigerian identity cards. Non-Nigerians sometimes try to even register, as voters in Nigeria. Non-Nigerians also hold Nigerian passports.
Well, I want to say this, that the present methodology of issuing the standard passport in Nigeria, it is very difficult for non-Nigerians to possess it. The way immigration service is anchoring and issuing passport now, it is absolutely impossible because of the biometric system that has gone hard and the security chips in the passport. It is not possible. If you look at the ID card, national ID card, it's not immigration that issues it. The voters card is not immigration. As a matter of fact, it has been immigration service that have been curtailing this by checking and seizing most of them. So you see, those criminal tendency is within a larger Nigerian society due to political gains and all that. So when they go into political engagement, they get people from other places to get these voters cards and all that to enhance their voting process and successes. Now, going back to issue of ethics, which is very important, I assure you, the immigration service itself has men of dignity. It's unfortunate that the challenges are so enormous because of the expansion of the border, which I feel this e-border patrol system will cure. Recall that in 2016, a pilot technology of this type was instituted in Ilela border by Huawei, a Chinese organization. It was actually donated to immigration service for us to be able to know what they can do by the e-border system. And it was installed in Ilela border. I recall when I was still serving before I retired in 2016, that the CG then, with the present Minister of Interior, Lieutenant General Dambozo, physically came to inspect it at the service headquarters, and it was deployed. And you will not imagine the high quality success they have recorded based on that. Because with that, right there at the service headquarters, the Controller General will be able to know what is going on. The people manning there, whatever is going on anywhere, will quickly allow the CG, and they will take action immediately. So that of Ilela has been a huge success. I want to believe that success will have influenced this, the initiation of this border control system. And I want, if that one was successful, I do not see any reason why this time around, when the government has approved it officially, why it should not be a success.
The government also approved CCTV in Abuja. That's what I'm saying. We talked about the experience.
No.
Is there any Nigerian city that has CCTV now?
No, what I'm trying to say that one, you remember when he said that it was destined to fail based on the way it was done. But this one is with a higher quality of technology. You recall that this one has a special component of advanced passenger information system. This very one. We don't have in all those ones. In this one, before passenger even take off, the system is built in such a way that you know who is coming in. You need to target even people who have criminal intent the security agencies are looking for. So it will go a long way. We are in a different regime in terms of this e-system. It will do us good.
Kingsley, and our guests, my take on this technology issue is the fact that, it could be well planned, but when it comes to execution, we experience difficulties. Nigeria is lagging behind technologically in all aspects of technology. There is no indigenous technology. What you're talking about is an imported technology. And how do you operate it to get the excellent results you're looking for? You don't have a better surveillance mechanism than America does. But today, Trump is talking about building a wall between them and Mexico. Yet they have such a surveillance facility you're talking about. So it may not be the end of the fight. Acquiring a technology that will enable you spot people who are. It may not be enough, because if it is enough, America will be talking about building a wall at the moment. All right, we'll continue the conversation when we return. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue the discussions and, of course, the tweets that we have received from Nigerians who are also watching and who want to make input in this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right now to the tweets, and Kingsley would like to start.
All right, so this is from DW Nigeria Limited, and that's the Twitter handle, by the way. And it says that although jobs will be lost as a result of introduction of technological infrastructure along our borders, but it's important to note that the dangers of unsecured border outweigh allowing the borders to be porous. That's why we have mercenaries entering the country.
All right, from Ishaq Imam, Nigeria is virtually borderless. Porous borders across the country, particularly in the north. Hence, the need to secure our borders if we are really serious in addressing insecurity.
This is coming from Musa Hadeja. It says there is a challenge facing Nigerian border security where you see influx of herds of camels coming from abroad and overwhelming Nigerian forests and sometimes causing road accidents.
All right, from Delejak Solomon, indeed, the existence of porous borders and cross-border and frontier activities in Nigeria has aided crimes and security challenges across Nigerian borders for long without any specific solutions. It is therefore pertinent that the federal government and agencies involved evolve a political and diplomatic steps required to resolve border questions between Nigeria and her neighbors to foster regional security, integration, and economic cooperation with intervention strategies.
Now, still from Musa Hadeja, it says, and who is to blame when, as recently as not too long ago, we had some 20 million bags of rice that were being smuggled into the country, and thereby crippling the performance of local farmers.
Okay, from I am Nelson, even with manpower, we need technology to view how borders are being manned by our officers on the border. We build on manpower insecurity.
Lord Alpha say, now it's a fact, according to him, that Nigeria's numerous border posts are not effectively managed, and why the few border patrol officers compromise standards in order to make personal gains out of the system.
From Mike Anyako, that's the last one I have here. Mike Anyako says, Nigeria's borders undoubtedly are very porous. The consequences of this situation cannot be overemphasized. How can we check the anomaly? Should all our immigration officers be redeployed to the borders? Should we build a wall? We must do the needful immediately. It's the building a wall, and the top is even finding it very difficult to get the funds to build the wall.
For all of that. Yeah. I just wondering, still with Dr. Ifeadi, we had asked this question of Muhammad Ali, and I would like to pose the same question to you. As immigration officers, how challenging is it to man border communities where you have this commonality of cultures, of dialects, and virtually everything, and that sense of nationalism? Do they see themselves as Nigerians or see themselves first as part of an ethnic stock? And so how do you deal with that?
Well, it has always been a big problem for the Nigerian Immigration Service. Recall once I was here, I revealed one thing that we observed at the Bokia area of Ogun State, where painfully the pillars of the boundary of the country were found inside the sitting room of a Nigerian. So how do you police it? Is when the border lines are so disjointed. So it's part of the problem. Ethnic contiguity, religious contiguity, things of this nature, is always posing this type of problem. They have common market days. You dare not stop them, especially when it's not a legal border. On the fringes along the borderline, especially the unmanned area, even when you unman it, when you tell them not to pass, it's always bloody. Our officers suffer a lot of intimidation, a lot of deaths that we don't announce because of this. So you use your head. So we need, like you said, immigration is doing the best, but there's still room for improvement, whereby proper sensitization of the border area must be engaged on, so that this type of nationality, they should also understand, differentiate between individual gains and national interest. If they're able to do this, over time probably will succeed, but it's a very big problem.
Do the other countries that are neighbors, do they just bother about these things, or they just feel that it's Nigeria's headache?
That is the most painful aspect. They don't bother because they are language in extreme poverty. We here in Nigeria, I know things are hard, but we are far, far more better than them. If you go to Niger, you feel sorry for them. That's why sometimes I had headed Kano State Command before. We deport or repatriate a lot of them. Some of them might get back to Kano before you, who took them there. Because the other party does not cooperate with us when they come to the real cooperation. They pretend to cooperate, but when you go, they tell them to find their way because they know that their people are suffering. So they believe that they are coming here, even if it means coming here to carry water and all that, shoemaking something. It's enough for them to be surviving.
Well, exactly.
So we'll have problem.
Yes, and that brings us to the question we'd like Muhammad Ali to take on before we round off this particular program. Muhammad Ali, no, that seems to be a sense of collaboration and cooperation among people living within the border communities, either on the other side, like Niger, Cameroon, Benin, and of Nigeria. They cooperate among themselves. From what Ifadi said now, it shows that there is a relationship that you cannot simply break like that by perhaps diplomatic arrangement or what have you. So how do we solve the problem of that, cooperation among people living within the borders, the communities living within the borders, irrespective of whether they are Nigerians or Nigerians or Beninans, because this is an aspect that we may find difficult to deal with.
Difficult because from my findings, you discovered that some of these border communities have even gone ahead to establish linkages through marriages between one community on the Nigerian side and another community on the Nigerian side or in the Beninese side. So where there is that link of consanguinity in terms of marriage, so you see they are already looking at themselves or seen as themselves as one on the basis of having, fraternal relationship that has to do with marriage and issues like that. So I think the Economic Commission of West African States needs to be approached on a very serious note so that we sit down and look at these things critically, because Nigeria, being the giant of Africa, must not be overloaded by the excesses of our neighbors taking advantage and creating problems for us. Because if we have to talk frankly, the insurgency that we've been battling with for the past 10 years is a byproduct of some of these things that over time we've been overlooking and taking for granted. This is why we find ourselves where we are today. So we have to sit up and be very serious. And on the part of the immigration, I want to openly say, and sincerely too, that we have to also look at, again, at the issue of aliens control measures, which before the year 1986 was being controlled by the Department of State, the DSS. But sometimes in 86, around the months of August, the issue of aliens control was removed from the State Department to the immigration, and I think it was from that moment that we started having the problems we're having of Nigerians or the Homians or Ghanaians coming in to even receive or take Nigerian passports, Nigerian ID cards, etc., etc. So we have to do a lot of homework and ensure that the right thing is done, and agencies that are saddled with responsibilities actually monitored and ensure that they do exactly what they're expected. And there is the need for reward and punishment. When people go contrary to what their line of duty demands, they should be punished regardless of who they are or what they represent. But where people commit misdemeanors and they are left to go free, then it will certainly continue. So this, I think, is the major cause of the malaise we are today witnessing within the setting of the Nigerian Immigration Service.
All right. Thank you very much, Muhammad Ali. We would not have enough time to get into another very interesting aspect of this conversation, which you already touched on, and that has to do with the alien control measures. There appears to be a sense in which border issues And if you like now, the security challenges issuing therefrom are matters that have been left virtually in the hands of the immigration service. And yet, from what we are seeing, the consequences, marauders, cattle rustlers, you find them all over the place, Boko Haram, that is terrorism, kidnappers and arsonists and so on and so forth. Where are the other security agencies? We have the National Intelligence Security Agency, we have the DSS, plus of course the armed services, even though for other issues, that's a different matter. Well, Mohammed Ali, we can't get into that this morning as we indicated. Perhaps some other time we'll return to that conversation. And so on that note, we'd like to thank you for being with us. You joined us from our Kaduna Network Center. Right, also here with us in our Lagos Network studios, we would like to thank Dr. Emmanuel Braska Efeadi, his retired Deputy Comptroller General of the Nigerian Immigration Service. Thank you for being with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you so much.
All right, so that does it for our second topic for conversation today. Let's go over now to our sports desk.
Manchester City's Raheem Sterling has won the Football Writers Association Footballer of the Year award. Sterling took the Writers' Men's Award with 62% of the vote after he was named Professional Footballers Association Young Player of the Year. Liverpool defender Virgil van Dijk, who also won the PFA Player of the Year award, was second. Meanwhile, the result of Caster Semenya's landmark case against Athletics' governing body will be published on Wednesday. The double Olympic 800 meters champion is challenging the IAAF over its regulation restricting testosterone levels in female runners. The rule will apply to women in track events from 400 meters up to the mile. Semenya would either have to take medication to be eligible to compete in the 800 meters, change events, or move to compete against men. The Court of Arbitration for Sport says it will publish its ruling at midday on Wednesday.
All right, now the United Nations to assist Mozambique with emergency funds after Cyclone Kenneth struck the northern province of the country. Details with Oyemi Ajayi on the foreign scene.
The United Nations has expressed willingness to grant Mozambique and the Comoros Island $13 million in emergency funds to help provide food and water and repair damage to infrastructure. This is coming after the second cyclone in a month hit the region. Cyclone Kenneth crashed into the northern province of the southern African nation, which was just recovering from Cyclone Idai that hit further south last month. Idai, which moved into neighboring Zimbabwe and Malawi, killing more than 1,000 people, was said to be the worst tropical storm to hit the region in decades. Cyclone Kenneth had already recorded 5 deaths as it unleashed heavy rains and flooding that has seen rivers burst their banks and smash whole villages. The World Bank has estimated that Mozambique and other countries affected by the tropical storm will need over $2 billion to recover. Mozambique also faces a cholera epidemic after the cyclone wiped out water and sanitation facilities.
All right, thank you very much, Oyemi Ajayi, for that report on the foreign scene. Let's go over now to our arts and entertainment desk.
Well. Perhaps it is true that the thief has 9 days until the 10th day when the farm owner can get his pound of flesh. This appears to be the case with popular Nigerian juju icon King Sunny Ade, who has reportedly been dealing with impersonation until he gave the police a ring for rescue. The impersonator, or perhaps impersonators, happened to be a small gang allegedly led by Nollywood actor Yinka Quadri's personal assistant known as Oluwafemi Lawrence Oyedoku, to announce a non-existent UK and US musical tour by King Sunny Ade. As if that wasn't enough, the three-man gang opened several bank accounts to extort unsuspecting members of the public. Although some members of the gang have denied direct involvement with the crime, police investigation is on.
that is synchro system
impersonation, you know.
All right, of course, they are in the can now. They face the consequences of the allegation against them. It's on that note, of course, we call it today on Good Morning Nigeria. I would like to thank you for tuning in. We're back tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I'm Kirian Umayo, thanking you for your time. Let's do this again tomorrow.